In the last couple of years, you've always been learning, you've always been growing, you've always been taking courses and trying everything with the kids. But the last couple of years, we've been trying to give more time to teachers for that, doing the individual goals. And you've set yourself a lot of goals. You've investigated a lot of things. One of the things you've investigated that I know is you've tried the iPads. You've gone out and purchased your own iPad. What have you used the iPads for with the kids?
Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't even start by consciously setting goals. I just sort of picked up, I think, on what was already happening in the school, just seeing what other people were doing, like yourself. And so I think as well, because I have a personal iPad, now too, for me, that's really what it took to kind of start getting to the extent where I'd be comfortable using it with my students. I really need the opportunity to kind of take a look at different apps. And honestly, I have like a son in grade 5 who is in Delta, and they're also, you know, doing more kind of innovative technology-based activities. And so he would kind of let me know about various apps that he was using in his classroom, and I would immediately think, oh, that would be a really interesting idea with my grade 8s or my grade 11s. And so I started just kind of working with a couple of different apps, like Book Creator and Puppet Pals and iMovie, and just thinking about how I could integrate them into activities and projects that I had already been doing for like 15, 16 years. But just tying it in with consciously trying to offer more options for my students. And I think, too, there's a bit of a misconception that our students are more comfortable with this technology than we think. Mm-hmm. So I always started by asking my students, surveying my students what kind of experience they'd had with various apps or technologies. And there's a huge range. There's some kids that, you know, immediately know what they're doing, and other kids that don't know how to turn on an iPad. So with these apps, what I did, especially for my grade 8s, it wasn't a required element of a project, it was always a choice. So along with some more kind of traditional projects, I offered this as an alternative choice where they could decide to use one of the iPad apps to do a project. And then that meant that some of the students that were more proficient with that technology could kind of work with the other students to help them with it.
You did the same thing for Web 2.0 tools that you were using.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not necessarily replacing things that I'm already doing. I'm just adding to and giving options, more options for activities and projects, and more places to find information and share information.
Had a direct hand in the website, the WebNode website, and showing other people in your department, mm-hmm. showing people outside your department. Why'd you take on that role?
I'm not really sure. I'm questioning that now. No, I think it's just part of collaborating, and mm-hmm. you know, we're in a school and in a department where we've always collaborated. Mm-hmm. So collaborating about the technology that you're using is just an extension of anything else that I would share with my colleagues. So some of it has been teachers seeing what I'm doing. Some of it has been teachers seeing what students in my class have been doing. I post a lot of my work through Twitter and things like Puppet Pals. What I did before I even presented it to my class is I made my own Puppet Pals mm-hmm. little clip. So, because for myself, I have to use it first, and then I can kind of show my students. The students will show me things that I had no idea either, because they've figured something out themselves. And so then for the next group, I can kind of show my WebNode, my page, my internet page. I just needed a better way of communicating with my students and my parents. So over 100 students a semester. I have the majority senior students. I teach advanced placement, and so quite often, especially with my advanced placement class, it's linear. I'm not seeing them every day, and so I really needed a place where I could, you know, upload information and share homework and have a place. Largely, really, I think it's the parents that are accessing that website. So that they can see the types of assignments. I have course outlines on there, I have homework posted, I have videos, I have pictures. And so they've been really appreciative just of having a place where they can see what's going on in the classroom rather than relying solely on communication.
As well, you're one of the ones that are very strong with Remark and emailing Remark.
Mm-hmm. With the master grade.
What has been the reaction for the kids and the parents on that?
Yeah, again, it's just a matter of trying to effectively communicate. I'm, kind of locked in my classroom for the majority of the day, and so previously when the communication was just happening through phone calls, it was basically kind of playing telephone tag where I was leaving a voicemail and they were leaving a voicemail, and sometimes as well with our population of students there might be a language barrier where I'm trying to communicate with the grandparent. So through the email, I now have email contacts for all of my students, for all of their parents and almost all of my students as well. They provide me with an email contact so that they're responsible as well for communicating. And again, it's just really been a positive thing for me. I find that there's much less anxiety on the part of parents, feeling like they're disconnected from what's going on in the school with their kids. When it comes around to parent-teacher interviews, or this past time I had student-led conferences, the parents are coming in feeling more empowered because they have that information. There's no mystery. And that's sort of been kind of my through line for all of what I've been doing this year, is trying to be a bit more transparent about what my intentions are and what types of things we're doing in the classroom and what part their child is playing in that and how they can support. Quite often I'll have students email me on the weekend with a question about an assignment that otherwise they would either be kind of stewing about on their own or risking, not getting the assignment completed. Any way that we can facilitate communication with our students and our parents just makes everyone more successful. Kind of assembly line feeling in the gym, where you have this row of endless parents lined up, where you're feeling the pressure to kind of move people along when they really want to have a conversation. And ultimately I was feeling like it was a bit redundant for myself because I already had been communicating with parents so much about how their students are doing academically, that I was just essentially giving them the same information. I'd say, well, you just got my email yesterday, so and they'd be like, yeah, I already know, but they felt still obligated to come somehow. So student-led conferences was a great change. I was able to work within my classroom. The week before, talked to all my classes about ultimately choosing a selection of work that they could show their parents. So some pieces of work that they were really proud of, that they feel like they accomplished a certain goal, other pieces that they were still kind of working on those skills for the semester. And so I think it just made them kind of more aware of why we were doing certain activities, what learning outcomes were connected with those. And so when the parents came in, it was kind of like show and tell. Again, just facilitating students having a conversation with their parents and vice versa. So it was a little awkward at times because they're not necessarily accustomed to having those types of conversations. And so for me, it was just sometimes I had to kind of break the ice a little bit. But it was great because they got to see their work in the classroom. They got to meet me in a very relaxed, informal setting. We had leadership students bring around coffee and cookies and stuff, and so it was a great night. It was
Twitter, the networking.
Yeah, the Twitter's been great, and I was quite reluctant to begin with because I didn't really understand how Twitter could be used within a school setting. But for me now, it's just added another layer of communication within our school. There's the one-on-one interaction between my students and myself in the classroom. There's the additional level of the parents and other teachers and administrators. And then we have this kind of Twitter communication school where we're now on this extended day, and so not everybody's here at the same time. There's no kind of gaps anymore. So even over the summer, I noticed the teachers were still communicating on Twitter, kids were still letting us know what they were doing. So again, it's just become ingrained as part of my day that's just one more kind of method that I can use. And it's immediate. If I can't find a student in the school through my Global Issues Club and I don't teach them, I tweet them. And within minutes, they're coming to see me
One of the questions asked of this group, the Innovation Grant Group, was, how would we keep on doing this? I mean, we won't have the money anymore.
How would we not? I mean, I was thinking about that actually, like, at the end of the grant, to me, it's like, so what? We have the technology here now. We have the support systems. I can't go back in time, So for me, the grant is sort of
icing on the cake.
You dealt with all the kind of money stuff, and so I can't imagine not continuing with I don't think there's a single thing that I've tried within the last year that I wouldn't continue doing. And I think my students would be, and the parents would be like, you know what? What do you mean you're not doing this anymore? So it's just really become integrated into my everyday teaching practice.
What next?
What is next? I mean, I'd like to continue exploring more options with the iPads. I was just looking actually last night on Twitter about kind of partnering with other subject areas. So there was an activity online about an art and English kind of collaboration where English classes and art classes were working together on a project to kind of upload artwork and written work around certain issues. So I think we could work towards that, collaborating among different departments a bit more and using our technology to facilitate that.
There's a book creator that Roger's well trained
Right.
on, Roger the librarian, and you've worked with him
Right.
at other times.
Yeah.
There is Skyping
Yeah.
and a couple of websites that have
also
all
would be
the
great because especially with English, you know, you can communicate and collaborate with people across the world. It doesn't even have to be within the school. You can, you know, Skype with someone in Australia, or you know, find a class that you can communicate across with the world. I mean, we do writing portfolios for the senior students because a big part of the curriculum is developing those skills over a period of time and really students being reflective about their writing. But for myself, it's just created huge amounts of paper. There's still obviously an importance in students being able to write by hand and revise and edit. We have a provincial exam where they have to do that, but I've been looking at trying to work towards e-portfolios more so that students are able to more easily share work. There's just less paper, less bulk, and so yeah, if we had a set of laptops that were available to our students, we'd be able to do that.
Google Docs.
Right.
We'll talk.
Google Docs.
We'll talk. I have plans.
Yes, many ways. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing with me.
You're